my name is Andy Hooper. I am an IT manager and I work for a Swedish company based from home, like everyone these days, here in Eversley in North Hampshire. And I used ex-Army builders for an extension over the course of the last year in 2019 and 20. We bought this house in 2017, and it certainly was. It was already a very pleasant enough cottage, but it was old-fashioned in many ways. It had been extended in a small piecemeal fashion in a few different phases, and it didn't really hang together very nicely as a house in terms of walking through it and the flow of it and so on. It had a slightly tired, very tired and outdated conservatory on the back, which was very much somewhere that we didn't enjoy spending time. The usual problem with old conservatories, boiling hot in the summer, freezing cold in the winter. And the outside space was completely overgrown as well and needed a lot of renovation. So this project for us was really about tidying up the back of the house. So adding a significant rear extension, which would be a new combined kitchen, dining and living area, and also behind that, inside the house, tidying up the sort of rabbit warren of corridors that we had and opening up the flow of the house a lot more effectively as well. It didn't really have a utility room, so we also wanted to get that out of the process, and we also wanted to move the route of the stairs, and the downstairs loo as well also needed to be shifted as part of this. So it wasn't not an insignificant amount of work. We didn't touch the upstairs too much. We just took the opportunity to do a few bits of tidying up, and we removed a chimney breast, for example, where we had the opportunity to make a bedroom a bit bigger, and that was a good thing to do as well. So in the end, we've taken a quite jumbled old property and turned it into a much more modern, up-to-date, flow-through property that you might expect to see these days from almost from a new build point of view. So when we decided to do the project and to commission a building company to help us out, we were looking for a few things. We were looking for some transparency, in the sense of we wanted to really understand exactly what we were getting for our money. We wanted to obviously have a good friendly relationship with the key people that we'd be working with, and in addition, obviously the price had to be within our budget. We had to have the rough numbers had to be right, but also we really wanted to find someone who was relatively local, ideally, who had done other projects in the area, which we could go and have a look at. And ideally who would use the services of other subcontractors that might be working locally. And ex-Army fitted the bill pretty well, as did a couple of other options that we looked at. In terms of things that might have stopped us using ex-Army, the company was very busy at the time that we were looking to get quotes. So obviously at the time that you are trying to build that understanding and get that sense of comfort that you're making the right choice, you want to be able to have people come very quickly at your beck and call, and that's not always possible. So the only thing that I would say was slightly gave us pause for thought before we made a final decision was the ability to get the key people from ex-Army at the right time to finish off the quoting process and really have that last level of understanding. But in the end, those things were resolved pretty well and fine, really, and we ended up making the decision to go ahead. So the ex-Army team overall, I would say, are a very pleasant bunch. The initial quoting phase was done in an extremely friendly and interactive way, very responsive. The sort of core groundworks team that comes in were great, actually, very effective, very efficient. Got the job done in terms of the core groundworks very quickly. We're very pleased with that. Very friendly people. All of the tradespeople that came in at different phases of the job, whether they were full-time employees of ex-Army or subcontractors that were being used, you felt like they were all well known to each other. They all got on well with each other. and work well together. And I suppose from a customer point of view, a really important thing is that you get on with them as well. They're going to be in and around your house for months at the end of the day. And I found them all, especially after you've given them a cup of tea in the morning, extremely friendly, extremely pleasant, and you never felt uncomfortable about having any of the team around your house and your family. So that was fine all the way through. Nice, a nice bunch of people. So I suppose a good example is in relation to the steelwork. When we quoted the project, when the project was quoted, there are things you can see and things you can't see, in a job like this. And when the walls and ceilings were taken down in the area which was being tied in into the extension from the existing part of the house, there were some quite interesting historical modifications that had been made, and we found all sorts of strangeness in relation to the existing steelwork in particular, and that required a fair bit of adjustment, I would say, and work on ex-Army's part to really work out how that should be, ideally whilst fitting in with the existing quote, which for the most part we did. So I would say that kind of thing was good to see, because it wasn't just a case of getting the job done at any in the fastest, easiest way possible for ex-Army. There was very much a willingness to look at what we found, to consider how it should be, to make sure it was in the best solution for the long term. And as a result, actually, we ended up with the ceiling in here, for example, being able to be a good 3 or 4 centimetres higher than we thought we were going to be able to do. And that was from the perspective of really having a look and thinking about how things could be done better. So that sort of thing was a very satisfying part of the process, I would say, to see that kind of attention to detail being put into the thought process. I think the main recommendation is that ultimately, when these jobs are being done, there are things that you discover, such as steels, such as unforeseen waste services, sewerage and so on, runs of pipes that you didn't know were going to be there, strange electrics. And at the end of the day, what you want is a building contractor who is not going to just sort of shrug their shoulders and leave you to sweep up the mess, normally by paying a significant amount of extra money. Obviously there are things that need extra money spent on them. That clearly is the case from time to time for things that are unforeseen. But when things do need sorting out, you don't want to be left in the lurch, you don't want to be worried about things. And when we had issues that needed to be overcome, which did happen, I was very comfortable with the approach that ex-Army took, and end to end, things that needed to be sorted out and resolved were sorted out and resolved very much to our satisfaction, and the end result was a fantastic new extension on the house. Actually feels like a brand new house. I think the only thing that I would say, if I look back over the entire span of months of work that it took to get this whole thing done, then really I would only be able to pick out a couple of things, and that would just be ongoing communication, which was by no means a problem from my perspective, but could perhaps have just been even a little bit better throughout the course of the process, right through to the end point. We had a couple of delays, I would say, towards the end, which were weather related. We just missed the ability to finish everything off before the November rains hit, and that ended up with us. We perhaps had an opportunity to get everything finished just before that, but really these were pretty minor points I'm picking out. These are nothing that you would expect to get from in any sort of project of this complexity, I would say. So yeah, I'm struggling to find anything, to be honest. So I think a project like this, if you can do it, it can be transformative to your daily life, and I would say that was what we wanted, and that is thankfully for us what we've actually had. We designed this room that I'm sitting in now to be the room we would spend most of our time in, and that's absolutely turned out to be the case. You know, we can cook in one place, eat formally in another part of this room, and then we can sit down and relax in another part of the room as well. I would also recommend people not to put a TV in rooms like this. If you've got the ability to have a TV in another room, that's been fantastic. We talked about that and we ended up not doing it. And now this is a place where we sit and talk and relax, and we can all sort of talk to each other rather than focusing on something else, smartphones notwithstanding. But overall, I would say transformative, and just we come into here in the mornings, and frankly, it's just a moment of pleasure still, even months later after we finish, to walk in here and be able to spend time in this space, and just feel really fortunate that we've got it, to be perfectly honest.
Ex-army builders trained by the best.